Hey guys, welcome to my channel. And in this video, we are going to talk about something even more interesting that is going on. And with all kinds of stuff that happened, like for example, India European Union Free Trade Agreement, then India European Union Defense Pact, then President Trump's tariff, and then we have India's Republic Days going on with all kinds of noise and good stuff going on. uh, this very important trade deal got left out. Okay, nobody talked about it, and this is, I think, very important trade deal that India has, and it has great potential as well. And that trade deal is India New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. Okay, now when India and Australia signed this free trade agreement, then I said that it's actually when India and UK signed the free trade agreement, I said that we will see further India and Australia signing trade agreement, and India and New Zealand also signing the free trade agreement, simply because of Australia and New Zealand being the dominion. And I believe that India and Canada may end up signing the free trade agreement as well, which only time will tell. But now, for now, what let's talk about the India New Zealand free trade agreement. Okay, but please do like and subscribe. It's not gonna be a very long video. I'm just gonna cover the important points and see where this whole thing is headed. Okay, so please stay with me till the end, like and subscribe, and let's get going. Okay, now I'm a little bit under weather for some reason. I don't know how. But India and New Zealand concluded the free trade agreement on December 22nd. Okay, this whole thing was concluded on December 22nd, 2025, and then agreement basically. See, agreement. One thing about the agreement is that it is still not in force. Okay, you may hear lots of things from lots of websites or maybe on X and all that, that agreement has signed and this and that, it's good and all that. But the reality is that it's not actually in force. And if you don't believe me, I can actually show you on the website as well. Okay, so just stay with me and I will show you. Now, one second. So as you can see right here, right? So it says that India, this is the website of government of New Zealand. Okay. New Zealand and India concluded negotiations on free trade agreement on October 22nd. And nothing is final yet. I'm final in the sense that it is signed and all, but uh uh they still have to make some final announcement and all that thing too. Okay, so that is what is going on. All right, now uh so this whole thing started, actually the trade deal basically started around when the President Trump's tariff phase was going on, and then when he announced the tariff on India, 50%, 100%, whatever those random numbers are. Okay, so when they said that for because India is buying Russian oil, so we're gonna have this much tariff and this and that. So that's when India got into action. And they were like, okay, so now we need to figure out how to handle this thing. And they actually talked to each one of their partners, and then partners basically responded, and they were like, okay, let's do the free trade agreement. And now there are certain pain points also, as usual. India and US had the same pain points. Only difference is that other countries, they agreed and to collaborate and cooperate with India on those pain points. Okay, and so let's look into all that. Let's talk about it, and then we go from there. Okay, first of all, let's look into the India New Zealand trade in numbers. Okay, India New Zealand two-way trade is almost $3.68 billion as of June 2025. Okay, this is not a very big number considering I mean, the way India has a volume of its trade with other countries, but New Zealand is not a very big country either. Okay, and in spite of all that, New Zealand, it has $3.68 billion of trade. That says it all. And the plan is to actually double this trade in 5 years. That means double the trade, meaning that is, if you assume it to be $4 billion, then it's going to become $8 billion in next 5 years. Okay, so New Zealand exported around 1.79 billion goods and services to India, and imported around 1.88 billion from India year to June 2025. So it's pretty balanced trade as well between the both countries. Okay, and New Zealand's biggest export to India is travel services, which comes to be like $940 million. Other top New Zealand exports to India are, according to industrial products, New Zealand 265 million forestry is there. Then 134 million is uh, your law horticulture and all that, 118 millions, all that. Then other things like apples, kiwi fruit and all that. Okay, then India's official line puts overall bilateral trade at $2.4 billion in 2024. So clearly this trade has been growing. All right, and the FTA target is to double this trade in 5 years. All right, now what are the pain points? The pain points basically, when you're signing free trade agreement, then you're gonna have pain points with pretty much every country, no matter what it is. Okay, everybody wants some sort of benefit, some sort of profiteering, something, and they want also, they at the same time they want to look that this trade deal is in their favor. Okay, and then there are some fools who get actually greedy, and they start to apply tariffs and all that. That's their way of applying the pressure. Just like, have you seen a kid who doesn't a kid in the candy store, and when they don't get the candy, they start to throw fit about it, right? So some countries are like that, and some leaders are like that too. They start to throw fit. But then there are countries who understand those things, and they are ready to negotiate, and then they move on, and they actually agree to certain things, and trade deal works out just fine. So for example, pain point for India is dairy is the real landmine for India. India keeps dairy in exclusion. New Zealand's internal politics is already split on no dairy gain. Okay, then India's offer is deliberately basically partial. The 70% tariff lines open and 30% excluded, with only 30% immediate elimination, and the rest will be phased out. Okay, so what they're saying is that out of that 70% tariff lines, there will be 30% will be immediate elimination, and the rest of it will be, they're going to be phased out over the next 5 to 7 years. That's the whole idea. Okay, now what phased out means? Phased out meaning that uh, they're gonna give their traders the opportunity to expand their trade and find a backup plan and all that thing, meaning that prepare for the competition in the market. That's what it is. Okay, now now and then horticulture will be like that fight is also there, like apples, kiwi fruit, honey, and all this will be there because India also produces these things too. Okay, then New Zealand ratification risk is also real too. Like other partners and all, New Zealand first objected to immigration and mobility concessions plus dairy exclusion, which then these are that's another thing. Like they have immigration and mobility policies and all. So that's another problem that is under negotiation. Okay, for the most part, negotiation is also complete. So they are saying that okay, let's keep that and we will talk about it later on. Okay, and the resolution is basically the deal's design, that New Zealand gets broad preference coverage, India controls political blowback through exclusions plus phased schedules. Okay, now here's the thing though, like you see, one thing that you have to understand, that yes, lots of things they look like they're political, and in fact lots of media outlets and experts also say that, oh, this is because of um, the political blowback fear and this and that, so that's why government does not agree to agriculture and all. No, actually that's not the case. What you have to understand is that you have to understand the India's trade, how India's trade is, and what are the maximum things that India exports and how that is handled. Okay, so India has this thing, they have small businesses, a lot of small businesses that actually produce things, and then those things are exported outside. Okay, And so what government wants is government wants to make sure that their livelihood is not impacted by this thing. Okay, why? Because you do have 1.5 billion people now. Lots of those people have that's their livelihood, doing something by their own in their small businesses and all, right? Now if you take away that livelihood, and there is tariff problem or something, then that is a serious problem for them. And government's promise is to remove unemployment and all that good stuff, right? So so adding more tariff to this type of stuff basically adds more to the problem than actually solves it, right? So that's thing. Now let's talk about benefits for New Zealand. Okay, what are the benefits for New Zealand? New Zealand basically gets preferential access to 95% of its current exports to India with 50% duty free trade. Day one, 50% will be duty free from day one, rising to 80% plus over time. Okay, now in fact basically the websites that I follow shows that India is already services heavy market for New Zealand. Services is New Zealand dollar 1.02 billion versus goods is $77 million in a year to June 2025. And so New Zealand's upside is not just goods tariff, there are services as well. Okay, now when services meaning the New Zealand's companies, they invest in services sector in India a lot. All right, now so, and then for other another thing is that for New Zealand they have very goods wins. All right, goods wins meaning that the goods, the trade in goods, the goods and services we say, right? So goods in the area of goods, basically their benefits are in forestry, wool, sheep meat, then coal. All they show up as a baskets expected to gain the most. All right. Then Indian tariff wall comes down meaningfully. Basically, the New Zealand Herald reports the average tariff on New Zealand's current export drops to 3%. Think about that. Every New Zealand's export, the tariff will drop to 3%, and multiple big lines become tariff free within a decade. Now imagine that. So that means that New Zealand is actually going to export more to India, and India is also going to export more to New Zealand. Okay, and so that trade is in 5 years they are going to double it. But then you have to understand, it's not just going to be stagnant at that. I think they are going to further increase it too. Now why I am saying that I think in next 5 years it will be just doubled, but over the period of 10 years that's going to grow probably 4 to 5 times or maybe 10 times too. Why? Because all this falls into India's trade corridor, the IMEC belt line. All right, from so it's going to be from Middle East to Europe, and then for the from here this side other side from the east side of things, it is going to go towards Indian Malacca Strait, then New Zealand, then Australia, and all that too. So it's all going to fall into the same belt line of IMEC. Okay, so clearly that trade deal is going to be further extended, and only time will tell how much I'm right or not. But this is not about being right, I'm just telling you what exactly it is. All right, and then come down, so what exactly India is going to benefit from it? Okay, India gets the cleanest part of this deal: zero duty on 100% of India's export to New Zealand, and all 8,284 tariff lines once the FTA enters into the force. Now see, you have to understand this, what all this tariff line and all this is basically. So how this works is that there are product categories. Okay, and so in the and each product category has its own tariff line. Let's say let me explain this to you a little bit more. Okay, so let's say you have product A, then you have product B, C, D. These are the product categories. Okay, for example, product category, say forestry, then horticulture, or say fruits or something like that. I mean, just say anything. Okay, this will have its own tariff line, this will have its own tariff line, this will have its own tariff line, and this will have its own tariff line. And this is, let's say, this is New Zealand's product tariff, the product, all these product categories. All right, now when New Zealand says that okay, we will give you access tariff free access to, uh, out of this, let's say E, just for the calculation sake, okay? So New Zealand says that, okay, we will give you uh, tariff free access to our 80% of the things, which means that what they're going to say is that B, C, D, E, any four of these product lines will get that tariff free access. Now, whatever will be the pain point, let's say B is the pain point for New Zealand. So, New Zealand will say that, okay, we will apply tariff on the product B, and rest A, C, D, and E will be tariff free. That's what tariff line basically means. All right. So that's what India and New Zealand, they both are going to do. Then now, Indian government is explicitly selling this the winners as textile apparel, then leather headgear, ceramics, carpets, automobiles, and auto components. Then there is lots of woodwork stuff too, like for example, cabinets, tables, chairs, all that stuff that gets exported as well. I mean, here also I buy lots of made in India products. So you see the table behind me, the cabinet that is made in India cabinet. So it's pretty solid product. So I love it. Now, so that's exactly what the India is going to be benefited from all this. All right. Then comes down to we go and look into um, long term impact of this whole thing. So um, long term impact is that bilateral trade has to be doubled, and if it happens then it's primarily will be services because technology is gonna grow. So of course India will provide certain export the technology to New Zealand. New Zealand will basically say that, hey, yeah, we are going to invest in India, and that's gonna be the services sector, right? So all that actually, services sector actually creates lots of jobs, so it's gonna be very beneficial for India in the long run. Now, the New Zealand is also going to commit to invest $20 billion in India as well. Now, so if for New Zealand and India, actually, it's not very too much of things. It's just that mostly the political things. Everybody wants to um, secure their domestic politics and wants to make sure that things are clear and all that. All right, that's what mainly that is. Okay, now let's look into the. I'm just trying to see if there what happened to the website actually. Let me, and then I'm gonna show you what exactly happens on the website. We will go look at it. Okay. Now, so let's get into the website. So this is the website for all that. All right. So overview, find out the New Zealand India Free Trade Agreement. So let's click on that and let's see if website opens. So this is it, right? India's strategic priority. Let me actually increase this thing so that you can see. Um, 300,000 strong diaspora in New Zealand forms a vital living bridge, all that good stuff. FTA provides New Zealand goods and services export, significant tariff preferences on key export, preferential access to India's middle class, which is then within 5 years will provide a large market than the entire population of European Union and ASEAN. So that's going to be a big thing for New Zealand. So key outcomes are 95% of New Zealand's current exports will be tariff free. Tariff will be fully eliminated immediately on day one for more than um so with all these numbers are here, right? Once the FTA is fully phased out, the average tariff applied to all current export will drop sharply to just 3%. And those are the things I told you in the um in the video, right? The in the slide, right? Now, estimated tariff savings on day one of 43 million. Now think about this. This is very interesting number. Estimated tariff savings on day one for New Zealand will be $43 million from day one, growing to 62 million based on current trade levels, likely to rise with the expected growth in trade resulting from the free trade agreement. That's a very good number for at least for New Zealand's economy, right? Now another pain point for New Zealand was this guy right here. This. In services and wine, gains are future proofed with a commitment that any better outcome offered to India's FTA partners will be automatically passed on to us. That is the preferred nation status. Okay, so anything that's gonna happen, if this similar thing will be offered to any other trade partner, it will be offered to New Zealand as well. That's a most what do you call it, the most preferred nation or something like that. Okay, so that's gonna happen too. Then another aspect is that streamlined custom processor, the broad in India, India customs will release all goods within 48 hours. Now, this is another key thing, that India customs will release all goods within 48 hours in case of perishable goods, and express consignments, and endeavor to do so within 24 hours. So perishable goods, that's something that goes bad, that is time sensitive, right? So that's what they're talking about. So they're saying that don't do something that, because it hurts the traders, right? So as with our other trade agreements, the FTA includes a treaty of waiting Watangi exception that protects the New Zealand government's ability to adopt any policy it considers necessary to fulfill its obligation to Maori. That is their internal thing. All right. So, significant focus on cooperation and technical assistance provided that will provide opportunities to grow durable, long term, and mutually beneficial partnership between India and New Zealand sectors, including forestry, horticulture, apiculture, and honey livestock fisheries, and aquaculture, wine. So now you see all these things right here. They're talking about horticulture, apiculture, and honey, livestock, fisheries, aquaculture, wine, traditional knowledge, and medicine, tourism, audio visual product, and sports. So that's a solid thing. Okay. Now this is the overview of the deal. Okay. Now, key facts. Let's look at the key facts here, real quick. Now, so key facts are this: India currently ranks as New Zealand's 12th largest goods and services export market, representing 1.5% of New Zealand's export. And India is the fastest growing G20 economy, and by 2030 is expected to become the world's third largest economy. I think it's gonna happen sooner than that. Okay, and by 2030, I think India will become $10 trillion economy, not just $7 trillion economy, and to have middle class of more than 700 million. This leaves huge potential for growth, not only for our premium food, beverage, and consumer good exports, but also for tech and services exports in sector. This India New Zealand two-way trade volumes, and we talked about this, right? So all this is there. So if you want to go check it out, you can go check out their website, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna learn a lot from it. Okay, so this is all about, and let's look at the outcomes too. Okay, let's look at the outcome. So outcome, I think I have already talked about it, but let's look into India will so it will in New Zealand, India FTA will deliver preferential access for New Zealand exporters to the large and fast growing Indian market of 95% of our current exports over time, with more than 50% benefiting from full tariff elimination immediately on the day one, and rising to more than 80% over time. We talked about that, right? Then forestry, then tariff removed immediately on sheep meat, wool, coal, and any other products. India still uses coal, okay? Then tariff on New Zealand's key fish and seafood exports phased out over 7 years, because fish and seafood is very important. And I mean, considering India has a large coastline, so there are lots and lots of fishermen. They do all these things. That's their livelihood, right? So government wants to make sure that it's not hurt. Okay. Now, valuable new quota access for kiwi fruit and apples. They have the quota access now, with volume starting well above average recent trade and growing beyond that. New Zealand is first country to secure preferential access for apples in any Indian FTA. See, government allows certain products because government knows that they will have to import those products, so that's why they allow it. So like in this case kiwi fruit or apples, so government knows that they will have to eventually import it, so they do it. And there are many other reasons to do so, but this is one of them. Then tariff on New Zealand wine reduced by 66 to 83% over 10 years. So India's wine producers are not impacted or something, okay? 10 years from entry into force, with any further improvement for future trade bans to be extended to New Zealand. Okay, this is gonna be most favorable or nation. Tariffs on Manuka honey cut by 75% over 5 years, making New Zealand the first country to secure preferential access for honey in Indian market. Okay, tariffs on bulk infant. I mean, India's honey is very good, so you have to understand that. All right, and it's all over the place too. But anyway, so this is all it is, guys. So you can go and read up on all these things too. So this is all about India New Zealand free trade agreement, which has a potential to grow up to, which is gonna grow up to $8 billion in 4 to 5 years, and then I think 10 billion. I think 10 billion. It will go up to 10 billion easy peasy, and then probably in next 10 years is gonna grow up to $20 billion. And considering New Zealand is going to invest $20 billion in next 15 years, so that's why I think that that $20 billion number is not far fetched in next 10 years. Okay, so this is it for this video, guys. Please do like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.